It's because of the curses. We are in these curses. Our people have been suffering in the fields. We've been segregated. We've been through racism. All of this just because of the curses. Because Israel is too disobedient. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies, for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Of interview, which means Brother Mesa, truth teller. All right. All praises, all praises. Shalom, shalom, family, Most High in Christ bless. Welcome into each and every one of our viewers. And shalom to you, brothers and sisters. Most High in Christ bless on this beautiful, blessed Sabbath day. And let me get this microphone up and running. What's going on here now with you, Mike? There we go. All right, all praises, all praises. Shalom, shalom, family. Most High in Christ bless. Wonderful, beautiful Sabbath again to all you brothers and sisters tuning in, and to all of you who will be tuning in at a later date to view this video. We give all thanks and praise to the Most High for you brothers and sisters who have found the time in His will to join us as we go over another class of TLROG, classes to feed the Spirit. All praises. And as we can see tonight's topic, let me just adjust this topic. Just give me a brief moment, you brothers and sisters out there. We don't have time to do everything, so as we go, we can get it done. So as I say, let me just adjust this. I hope you brothers and sisters had a wonderful week and indeed a beautiful Sabbath thus far. The Sabbath is almost upon us to end, but all praises to the Most High for His divine day of rest. All praises. All right, there we go. All right. Okay. All right, that should be a lot better. Okay, so as I said, thank you, brothers and sisters, for joining in. Those of you who find the opportunity, the time to join in with us in this Sabbath class. And as I said, tonight's topic, as you can see, is entitled New Lands. And why am I not seeing my Satan is just always in the midst? There we go. Let me try see if I can adjust this. The demons just would not behave themselves. I'm trying to. Right, that should be okay. All right, brothers and sisters, as I said, welcome to the class again, 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 again. These demons are hard at work. Yes, so again, thank you, brothers and sisters, for your ever patient and humble characters and enduring with us as we prepare things in the class, for the class. Our praises. So, as always, okay, let's see, there we go. All right. Everything up and running, everything up and running. Mm, that's looking good there. All right. Yeah, so let's get going with with this afternoon's class. Let me bear with me again. Let me get this better situated for you, brothers and sisters, to be able to. I don't know what is this camera aspect ratio. It just would not. I don't get it. But that's for another time. Let's enjoy what we're enjoying with here. All right. All right. So, mhm. All right. Sure. Mhm. Okay. My Lord. Just bear with me, family, as I try to get this. All right. There we go. So, as we know, we're going to discuss new lands. All right, new lands is the topic of today's class. And when we talk about new lands, we talk about the so called migration of the 10 tribes of Israel. All praises, the 10 tribes of Israel. And because we call it new lands, it is a term that refers to lands that at the time were uninhabited, unknown, unsociable, and undeveloped because it had at that time no known inhabitants. Okay, no known inhabitants. And so, for the purpose of that reason, it was called new lands by those who would have then went there and inhabited the land. Okay, even though it was inhabited, it was still a vastly unknown place to the rest of the so-called civilized world. Okay, again, even though it was inhabited, it was still unknown to the rest of the so-called civilized world at the time. And so that is why it was termed new lands. Okay, and so after the United Kingdom of Israel would have split into two separate kingdoms, the northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. All right, so that's what we're talking about. The northern kingdom of Israel and the southern kingdom of Judah. All right, and as we know, the northern kingdom, it was a larger kingdom, all right, which comprised of the 10 tribes, and the 10 tribes being the tribes that were centered around the capital of Samaria at the time, while the southern kingdom of Judah, which would have included Judah, the tribe, and Benjamin, the only two tribes out of the 12 tribes of Israel, which were uh, counted as the southern kingdom of Judah. And praises the southern kingdom of Judah, which encompassed Judah the tribe and Benjamin the tribe. All right, okay. And so while Judah and Benjamin were the only two tribes, they were the main hub of the children of Israel because at the time they had Jerusalem, which was the capital city for all of Israel and indeed for all of the nations around it because it was a pride and splendor of the Most High God. Okay, it was a honor and a privilege to His people. All right, who were the glory of the Most High God. So in that time they had an excellent city adored and adorned with riches and beauty. And so everybody from all around would come to this city where they would come and trade, where they would come and sell, they would come and they would buy, they would come and they would want to stay in the city for whatever means and purpose. And not only that, it was a place of the gathering for the holy days of the Most High God, where all of our people, including Judah, okay, the two tribes of Judah, they would come to, sorry, what am I saying? Sorry, the 10 tribes of Israel, they would come to Jerusalem, okay, they would come to Jerusalem to partake in the high holy days as commanded by the forefathers through the Most High God, okay? So that was the two kingdoms at the time. Kingdom of the north, which comprised of the other 10 tribes, and the kingdom of the south, which comprised of Judah and Benjamin. Okay, and so let's get some biblical text concerning this. All right, as we describe in detail, as best of our knowledge, according to the word of the Most High God, what is known as the Great Migration. Okay, also known typically as the Lost 10 Tribes. Okay, the Lost 10 Tribes or the Great Migration. And so let's begin. We begin at, what do I want? Deuteronomy, I think it's 33. Let's look at it. Deuteronomy 33, and I think 17 or thereabouts. Let's see. Yes, so Deuteronomy 33 and 17. Uh, we want to start, yeah, let's start with Deuteronomy 33 and 17. And at this point, we would understand that this would be the man of the Most High God, Moses, okay, when he is presiding over the houses of Israel, okay, at this time, which would now be the the 12 tribes, okay, the 12 tribes, all right, because they have already formulated themselves as a nation divided into the houses of the sons of Israel, okay. Remember, they were one people until Moses organized them, unified them, all right, and they started to come into the knowledge and the understanding of being the 12 tribes of Israel through the sons of Jacob. All right, and so let's begin. We'll start at, as I said, Deuteronomy 33 and verse 17. And it reads, "His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh." Okay, so if we understand in the previous verses before 17, we're talking here about Joseph, all right? Joseph, one of the sons of Jacob. And it's saying that his two sons, which were Manasseh and Ephraim, okay? It is depicting Manasseh and Ephraim, all right? And let's read what it says. His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. Okay, so we understand even from back when Jacob would have given a blessing to the sons that he had remaining at the time. Okay, he blessed Joseph's two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and he blessed them with mighty blessings. Okay, and we see here where the man Moses is now coming back and he reiterating what the blessing was that was put upon them, because they would have been the strength now, all right, of the northern kingdom. They would have been the strength of the northern kingdom, the ones to hold everybody together, which would be the um, tribes that would fashion a way for the other tribes would follow behind them, okay, and would go into this place of a new land, okay, according to the prophecy that we understand would have been taking place at this time. All right, so let's read that again. It says, "His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns." All right, mighty and strong, illustrious. Okay, it says, "With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh." Okay, so we see Ephraim is the mightier of the two brothers, okay, and the mightier of the other 10 tribes. Okay, Ephraim is the mightier. So let's read on. It says, "And of Zebulun he said, Rejoice, Zebulun, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents." All right, so you see, if we understand and remember, Zebulun and Issachar, they dwelt in tents, similar to that of the other tribes. All right, the other 10 tribes, they were tent dwellers. Okay, because in the land where they were situated at the time, they were by the waters and they were in tents. Okay, they never had permanent home. So they were dwelling in tents at the time at the behest of the Most High, because remember they were promised the land. All right, they were promised the land, and so at that time they were just dwelling in tents until they would have gone into this land that they were promised through their forefathers from the Most High. Okay, and let's read on in verse 19. It says, "They shall call the people unto the mountain. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness, for they shall suck of the abundance of the seas and of treasures hid in the sand." Okay, so we see it's talking about all of the natural resources, the riches of the land, okay, of this place where they shall dwell, okay, in this new land. It says, "They shall call the people unto the mountain. There they shall offer sacrifices of righteousness, for they shall suck of the abundance of the seas and of treasures hid in the sand." Okay? That is the richness of the land that they would have gone to inhabit. All right? So let's read on, verse 20. It says, "And of God he said, Blessed be he that enlargeth God." All right? "He dwelleth as a lion, and teareth the arm with the crown of the head." Okay? "He be as a lion," all right, "and teareth the arm with the crown of the head." So that's God. That's another one of the tribes, okay, of the 10 tribes. So verse 21, it says, "And he provided the first part for himself, because there in a portion of the lawgiver was he seated, and he came with the heads of the people. He executed the justice of the Lord and his judgments with Israel." Okay, verse 22 says, "And of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's whelp. He shall leap from Bashan." Okay, verse 23. "And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor and full with the blessing of the Lord, passest thou the west and the south." You see, the west and the south. Verse 24. "And of Asher he said, Let Asher be blessed with children, let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil." And let him dip his foot in oil. All right. Verse 25. "Thy shoe shall be iron and brass, and as thy days, so shall thy strength be." You see? All right. So as we were reading Deuteronomy 33, we read from 17 and we went down to, what did we start? 20, 25. And so we see how it touched on the 10 tribes of the nation of Israel. Okay? And it gave depiction of this land prophesied, okay, where they shall dwell. All right? And is depicted of a land rich in resources, because we see it had oil, we see it had abundance of sea life, and we see it had treasures in the sand. Okay? And so when we try to imagine and understand, we get the knowledge that these lands are the lands of the so called Americas, where our brothers and sisters, after the fall of Israel, would have been taken into captivity. And during the time of captivity, okay, they formulated a plan to leave from amongst the heathen and get away to a land where they can go and worship of their own accord. Okay? Much like they did when they were in Israel, even though they were not all in keeping with honoring the Most High through the laws, statutes, judgments, and commandments, and upholding all of the high holy days and the feast days, but they still had a longing and an inclining through their leaders to want to serve the Most High God, not wanting to serve strange gods. So they decided to leave the land of their captivity, Okay, and they went westward. All right. So let's get further into that, where we can get some understanding on this migration that they decided to take. So for that, let's go to da, 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 da. Let me get my notes so I don't get too mixed up. Mm. Let's go to second address and we'll read from uh, second address 1. We read from 40 to 45. Let's see. Second address 1, 40 to 45. Let's get some further understanding. Not see. I'm already getting mixed up. What do I want here? I can't see. Let me get second Ezra's. I think it's 13. Let me see. Um, yes, sorry, brothers and sisters. Second Ezra's 13. We read from 40 to 45, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So let's read on. And so in second Ezra's, we get the understanding through reading uh, the prior precepts that this is the man Esdras, and he is communing and communicating with one of the spirits of the Most High God, one of the angels. Okay, and Esdras is given a vision. Okay, a vision of a time to come. All right, a vision of a time to come. All right, so let's get the script and let's understand what this vision is and what the brother Ezra was told about the vision. All right, so let's begin. Second Ezra 13, begin at verse 40. It says, "Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoner of their own land in the time of in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasseh, the king of Assyria, led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land." So yes, remember, Israel was conquered. All right, they were conquered by the Assyrian. They were taken into a strange land, and while they were in this strange land, they came to a decision that they wanted to get away. All right, they wanted to get away. So let's read verse 41. It says, "But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt." So you see, they decided to leave the civilized known world. All right? Because why? They were enslaved, they were in captivity. Okay? And while in captivity, they were forbidden to give worship to their God and partake in the high holy days and feast days of the Most High, and were forbidden from upholding the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God, because they could not go back to Israel to worship, could not go back to Israel to observe the high holy days, all right, and such things. And so they came together in a council and decided to leave from where they were in their captivity. Okay, this would be in the different places that they were taken, and also those who remained in Israel who were under captivity. All right, because remember, the ransacked Israel, destroyed it. So whoever left was in starvation, whoever left was under harsh oppression, whoever left was at the death of the sword. Okay, so they decided in a council to get out of that and go to a new land where they were free to worship and to do as they would unto their God. All right, so let's read on. Verse 42, it says that they might there keep their, so yes, they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. So you see, because they refuse to have respect and fear for the Most High God, and they refuse to keep and observe the laws, statutes, commandments, and judgment of the Most High God, their nation was put into captivity. Their nation was destroyed. Okay? And so the same people who they befriended and consorted with when they were told not to mix with them were the same people that their God brought against them to put into captivity. All right? And so now, while they went into captivity, here it comes. They now find the Spirit of the Most High God through grace and oppression and pain and suffering. And now they decide they want to call on the Lord to observe his laws, statutes, commandments, and judgments, to partake in his high, holy, and feast days, to give reverence and observe those things which the Most High God commanded them. After they would have been taken from a land where they were free to do such things and put into captivity in a strange land where they could not do such things. So now they decided, okay, we got to get out of this. Pressure too high, things too tough. We need a place of our own. So that's when they decided, okay, verse 42, that they might there keep their statutes which they never kept in their own land. See, they didn't want to keep it in the land that the Most High gave them. So now they wanted to go to a new land where they could go and keep it. So verse 43 says, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. So here we see how they migrated. Because remember, they were at the border of the rivers, Euphrates. All right? They were at the border of the river Euphrates. And wherever lands they would have been taken and being driven, they left and went into the river Euphrates, you see? And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. All right? A nice narrow place where they could easily get away, not being seen, okay, hide if ever they needed to hide, because they couldn't escape in a big open view. All right? So, verse 44, it says, for the Most High then showed signs for them. Yes, okay, because they had a change of heart. They wanted to honor their God, they wanted to call upon the Lord. And that is what the Lord required for his people to find their way, to come back unto him. It is not that he put them in captivity so that they would be wiped out, die, suffer needlessly. No, he did it so that they would understand that I am the Lord your God, whom gave you the land of milk and honey that I promised to your forefathers, who gave you the riches of your land. Okay? He wanted his people to repent and come back unto him. And so we see here the leaders, they took control of the people and decided to turn them back to the Most High God. Okay? Wishing to honor him through righteousness and worshiping, okay, and upholding the high holy days and feasts. All right? And so they could not do it where they were. So the Most High made a way for them to get out and to go to a place where He would guide them. All right, let's look at that again. It says, "For the Most High then showed signs for them." All right, the Most High then showed signs for them, meaning He was guiding them to a place where He wanted them to go, not to Judah, not to Israel. All praises. So let's read on. It says, "And held still the flood till they were passed over." So you see, He made miracles for His people to escape. He made miracles for His people to escape. Because why? They were going through a treacherous river. Remember, it was a very tight, narrow place. So even though the Euphrates is a river, it's a very powerful, large river. And it had waves, crushing waves. So the Most High had to hold the water, keep it steady and calm for them, and guide them to that place where He wanted them to go. Okay? So let's read on. Verse 45. It says, "For through that country there was a great way to go." All right? It says, "For through that country," meaning the whole entire land of the so called Africa right now. They had to traverse all the way through Africa. Okay? They had to traverse all the way through Africa. And we know that is one of the biggest continents in the known world. And so they had to trek all of that, all right, by water to come out of the Euphrates, go around the end of the land and out into the open ocean, follow down, because remember at the time they were following the land, not the water, the land, and whatever other signs the Most High made for them to follow. Okay? So it says, "For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half." You see? So this journey took them a year and a half. So we know it could not be anywhere in the land that they would have already been or known of. Because you see, the script says they went through the Euphrates, and this journey through the land took them 1 year and a half. So we know that's a very long journey that they went on. Okay, a mighty long journey. It says, "And the same region is called Asarath." All praises. The same region is called Asarath. So during the time, this region was called Asarath. And we know that the term Asarath was a term used to describe the so-called Americas. All praises. The so-called Americas. That was the term Asarath, which was used to describe the so-called Americas. Okay, so here we get an understanding of the vision that the brother Ezra had, all right, of the 10 tribes gathering together their people and leaving the lands of their oppression and captivity and traversing through the so-called continent of Africa all the way out into the open ocean to a new land. Okay? And we can only assume it was the open ocean because everybody has a different view. They say that the world was one land mass, which is foolishness. Then they say that um, the so-called white man separated Africa and the rest of the continent of Africa. All right. So we can only surmise from what the word of the Most High says. They ran through the river Euphrates. The Most High held the waters. Okay, and the trek took them a year and how many days? A year and a half. All right, a year and a half. Okay, verse 46 it says, "Then dwelt they there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come." You see, then dwelt they there until the latter times, and now when they shall begin to come. Okay, so that was the first migration of the people of the Most High God. Saying, until the latter times. What was the latter times? The times of the coming of the rest of Israel. All those other ones that would have come into slavery and brought over by the slave trade. Okay? Because we know what happened in between that time. Time when our brothers and sisters would have landed in Asarat. They would have set up camp, become nations of people in an unknown land. All right, the so-called native Indians. All right, all those Indians. You had the Lucayans, the Arawaks, the Cherokee, the Chickawa. You had the Blackhawks. All these other tribes of native Indians. You had the Amazonians. You had the Aztecs. Okay, all of those were our brothers and sisters. Okay, so they lived, as it said in verse 46, then dwelt they there until the latter time. All right, the latter time. They were living in peace and harmony with the land and with each other. Because why? The Most High made that place a dwelling for them until such time. That's what it says. And now, when they shall begin to come, meaning the others who are going to be coming over in the slave ships. Okay? So from there, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. Let's touch on that. Let's see what that means when he says, until they shall come. So let's go to Deuteronomy 28. And I think it's verse 60. Not 60. What do I Hmm. Okay, let's start from 64. All right? So it says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among the people from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and a failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. Okay, so now we see what the prophecy meant until they come. All right, it's talking about this curse that was brought and put upon the other nation of the people of God, which was the southern kingdom. All right, the southern kingdom. Okay, and so this is going into that time when the ease of life, the favor and the blessing of the Most High God, which was upon the northern kingdom at the time who were dwelling in Asarat, the new land, came to an end. Because why? The so called white man, the colonizer, the colonials, all right, they would have taken over, okay? And so we know the Spaniards, they would have sent out their conquistadors after that person called Columbus would have, by chance, come upon the so called New World, where he said he discovered a land, okay, that was uninhabited. And we know that was a lie because we just read where our brothers and sisters migrated to that land through the guidance of the Most High God. And they dwelt there in peace and harmony for years, hundreds of years, until the time where we read in 2nd Ezra 46, verse 46, 13 and 46. And it says, until day shall come. And that coming was talking of the so called white man, the colonizer, who came and destroyed that peace and harmony, just as they destroyed the peace and harmony that our brothers and sisters had in Israel and in Judah, came to Asarat, to the new land, and enslaved our brothers and sisters who they found there. Okay, and after our brothers and sisters who they found, they would have died through suffering, through sickness, and through starvation. They said, "Oh, we have some slaves back over there. Let's go and bring them to the new land. Sorry, to the new world." And so there they came and they forcibly took the nation of Judah with the tribe of Judah and Benjamin and all the surrounding people, which would have been the leftovers of Israel and any other people that would have been in that region at the time or in that nation at the time. They took them all, grabbed them up, and brought them over into the new world, into slavery. And so here we see Judah and Benjamin, they now come along and their spirit thrives. Because why? It is the prophecy of the Most High, okay? That Judah would be the leader that would restore the people of the Most High God. So that's why their spirit thrives. The other 10 nations, they were wiped out, wiped out, okay? All of the Aztecs, all of the Blackhawks, the Chickasaws, the Cheyenne, all of the Mayans, all of the Lucayans, all of the what's the other ones, Arawaks, they were all wiped out. All right, destroyed off the land, and they were replaced by the strength of the Most High God, Judah, all right, and Benjamin, and the remnants of the other nations would survive. But Judah and Benjamin, they now came here. And we understand what the prophecy says. Let's further read it. It says, and among these nations shalt thou find no ease, and neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and a failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. Verse 66, it says, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fare day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fare, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. Mm, okay? Telling you, trembling, the fear, because of the curse that was put on them. Then it's morning, they pray for night to come so they can go home. When it's night, they pray for morning to come so they can get out. All right? Because the protection of the Most High God has left them. They were put into a place where they were under the fear of death continuously. Right? Nobody had strength to save them. Nobody even cared about them. Nobody even knew them. Because they were in a land not their own. So, verse 68 it says, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the whereof I spoke unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you." Well, praises. So after the death and the wiping away and the genocide of the of the um, Northern Kingdom nation of brothers and sisters that would have come to Asherah. They now took Judah and Benjamin and brought them over as slaves, as laborers, as workers, as tools to continue where the other 10 tribes would have begun. All right? And they demanded more and more. And so the Most High blessed them and increased them more and more. All right? And so that is how Israel would have gotten into the new land. Okay? Into the new land. And is that the last verse I need? Yeah, so I'll leave that right there. But yes, brothers and sisters, thank you so much for joining me for this evening's class. And I hope you would have gotten some understanding about what took place during the great migration of the northern kingdom of our brothers and sisters who were the so called lost 10 tribes of Israel. All right? So with that, I say shalom. I'm saying Christ bless. You brothers and sisters, enjoy the rest of your Sabbath and indeed the rest of your night. Shalom, shalom.